Do you need encouragement to turn tragedies into your own triumphant life story? If so, this podcast is for you. Listen to powerful guests who have persevered through challenges so you can gain strength to build your championship life. The host of Professor of Perseverance podcast, Dr. James Perdue.
Hey, come on in. It's time for us to get started, get all fired up, get some inspiration, motivation, grab a little golden nugget. You don't have to get everything off this podcast. Grab one big golden nugget you can use. Then the next time trials, tribulation, difficulty, hardships, you know what I'm talking about, comes, you're prepared. And don't forget, pay it forward. Share it with someone else. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. But first, it's time for our 60 seconds of mojo. There we go. 60 seconds of mojo. Just in case no one's told you today, I'm proud of you for everything you faced, overcome, and accomplished. I hope you truly know your worthiness and how much light you bring to the world. I'm proud of you for not giving up, even when it would have been easier. I'm proud of you for choosing to going, for showing up each day despite the challenges. Your strength and courage are inspiring, and I hope you're proud of yourself too. You're doing better than you think. Keep going. Be the rock star that you are. All right, that's our 60 seconds of mojo. All right, go ahead and get started here. Now we got this is gonna be interesting here. All right, this guy here, our guest coming, his name Nick, suffered a traumatic, life-threatening snowboarding accident, and he was in a coma. His parents were told he would never walk, talk, or even eat on his own ever again. But Nick and his family, they had something to say about that. So welcome to the show, Nick Prefontaine.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here. I'm excited to be here, James.
Thank you for being here, reaching out to do this. So this is going to be interesting. Again, I love these stories of people just moving on and not giving up and going from there. So, all right, Nick, what we're going to do is here's how we usually do it. I throw it to you. It's your show. I'll jump in every now and again, maybe. But you put us where we need to be at the part of your story.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and feel free to stop me at any point.
Yes, sir.
And go back if you want clarity on anything. So it all really starts for me when I was in eighth grade with my friends. I was on the way to, and it was always a big deal when we were that age, when we were 14 years old, and you get released a little bit early from school. That's always a pretty big deal. So we got released a little bit early because we were heading to ski club. All my friends and I had brought our snowboard gear onto the bus to get ready, so as not to miss a precious moment once we got to the mountain. So we got to the mountain, the rest of the class migrated inside to waste time getting ready, but not us. We were ready to go, so we headed right for the chairlift. Then on the chairlift ride up, we noticed that it was very icy because it had been raining earlier in the day. So people were wiping out everywhere. And James, where the chairlift went was actually right over the terrain park where all of the jumps were.
Mm-hmm.
I knew as soon as I saw it that I had to go off the biggest jump in the terrain park. I mean, there wasn't even a doubt in my mind. I was already thinking about what we were going to do after I landed that huge trick. I mean, maybe grab a burger and fries in the lodge, or we could head over to the other chairlift for some.
Go out there and celebrate.
Exactly.
How a 14-year-old would, right?
I was thrilled to be there. And so I got to the top, buckled into my snowboard, took a breath of that crisp winter air, and confidently charged towards that jump with all my speed. And going into the jump, I caught the edge of my snowboard, and that's the last thing that I remember. So I learned that they wanted to actually, I learned that I went off that jump and I wasn't wearing a helmet. So they wanted to bring, the hospital wanted to bring a helicopter to the mountain to rush me to the hospital. And they couldn't because it was too windy. So they had to send in an ambulance. And out of all the paramedics that were working in the area, there was only one who could intubate right on the spot, and I needed that to be able to breathe. And he was one of the paramedics that showed up to the mountain that day. Something else that I learned was that even though I wasn't wearing a helmet, the only protection my head had was my goggles that I was wearing, and the
Mm.
goggles, like ski and snowboard goggles that go over your eyes. So the goggles that I was wearing had a lot of padding in them. They were very thick. So I learned that not only did they brace my impact, as I continued to hit my head and continued to roll down the mountain, they told me that with each blow, the goggles mysteriously or not so mysteriously, because I believe everything happens for a reason. So
Amen, brother.
they moved with me to save my life to cushion every blow.
Yeah, yeah.
So the third thing, once I did make it to the hospital, I mean, listen, I was out. I was out for the count. I was in the ICU, unable to communicate with anyone. And the only people that were allowed in there were my parents because of the severity of my injuries. And each time the doctors would come into the room to share the not so positive news, not so positive news, not so positive news, um, right in front of me, because they weren't doing anything malicious. They were just doing their job. They figured, oh, he's in a coma. He can't hear what I'm saying. So right as they started to share, my mom stopped them and she said, no, no, not in front of him, because she understood that even though I was in a coma, I was still taking in information. So she made the doctors step outside the room, and then once they were there, they said that uh, I was in a coma. They weren't even sure how long I was going to be in the coma. And there was a good chance if I came out that I wouldn't be able to walk, talk, or eat on my own ever again.
Yeah.
And I place importance on this. That's really one of the reasons that I'm here today, able to share with you and your audience. Um, that's one of the reasons. So that my mom didn't allow the negative information of the prognosis to get through to me. So what this allowed me to do, James, is just treat it like any other situation that I had up to that point in my life. So I ended up being in the coma for 3 weeks.
Well, let's hold up here for a second. Let me go back
Yeah,
to Mama. I'm glad she did that because they tell you that when someone's in a coma, that they can hear what you. So talk to them, hold their hand, and things. They tell. So why would a doctor want to tell you all the negative and bad things? You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
And planting
Yeah,
that
exactly.
seed of doubt of everything. Yeah, that makes no sense to me to hear that. Doctors, they tell you, oh yeah, they can still hear you. Talk to them, or hold their hand while you're talking, and yeah, wow, it amazes me that they would do that. So I'm glad your mom stepped up and did that for you. That's good. Shield you away from the negative that's going on, and then
Yeah, exactly.
she can come in and give you positive stuff. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And I ended up being in the coma for 3 weeks. I don't remember a month. And after, because it was a partially induced coma, because they had to wait for the swelling to come down in my brain, because if they didn't, and I just woke up from the coma, there was a good chance that I would have panicked and worried, what am I doing here? Who are you people? Everything like that. And the swelling would have gone up and then I would have
mhm.
died. So
Yeah, yeah,
that's why they had to partially induce me into a coma. So I don't remember a month. Um, And after a month, I was transported to a rehab hospital in Boston. And that's where I began my journey in my mind, because those are really where my first memories start. And really, at that time, I started to unknowingly use a system to not only make a full recovery, but run out of the hospital. And that's what
Mm.
I teach to this day, in both my keynotes and one-on-one work with clients. So it's the STEP system, and STEP is an acronym. So what I can do, James, is just give like a 10,000 foot view of it, and then at the end, if anyone's interested in learning more, I can let them know how they can go and download the whole STEP system for free. So
Yeah, we'll do that here in a second. Boston, just last week I interviewed a woman, and off the top of my head, I can't remember, but she'd mentioned she was in Boston for some reason. And I've been to Boston once. Many moons ago. I was 16 years old. Um, my older brother got 50% of his body burnt, and he was at Vanderbilt here in Nashville for 4 days, and they sent him to Boston Shriners Burn Center. So, with your age, it may not have been the Boston Shriners Burn Center, but it was their children's hospital.
yeah, it was Franciscan Children's Hospital. There was a couple different options. Showed Boston Children's Hospital or Franciscan Hospital, which now they've merged. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
owner of both, but back in that day when I got in the snowboarding accident, there were two separate hospitals. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was
Okay.
a children's rehab hospital.
Nick, I'm 61 years old. You don't seem to be old enough to be going back in the day. All right, so you're gonna have to come up with a different thing than back in the day. You're not old enough for that yet. So, all right, but yeah, like Boston, they definitely saved my brother all the skin grafts, and here this weekend he's turning 62, and so
Oh,
he's had a good life other than the scars, but he's had a good life from that. So Boston sure took care of him. So I have nothing but big praise. And while we were there, got there a day or two before because he was being dismissed, and so from Boston, and so me and my mom went up there to learn some stuff how to help take care of him. And the the next day, that night, they said something about uh, a small accumulation of snow or something, and we got up the next morning. It's like 15 inches, of, and they're going, oh yeah, it's not a lot for us. They go back in Nashville, we had half an inch. We freak out.
yeah,
So yeah, it was
sounds about right.
wild. Yeah, it was wild. So all right, man. All right, Nick. So all right. So how long were you in your rehab?
I was in there, the inpatient rehab, doing double sessions of physical, occupational, and speech therapy
Mm-hmm.
for less than 60 days. And right
Wow.
when I started my journey, though, I started to unknowingly use a system to not only make a full recovery but run out of the hospital. That's the STEP
Yeah.
system, and like I was saying, that's what I teach in my
Yeah.
talks,
Yeah.
keynotes, and one-on-one work with clients to this day. So STEP is an acronym. It stands for support. So make sure that you have the support of your family and friends right from the beginning. This is going to have you falling back on relationships that you built prior to your setback. Then T is trust. Trust that
Mm.
once you take your first step, your next step's always going to be available to you. And this also starts with trusting that voice that we all have inside of ourselves. And the way that I can illustrate this is it was right around the time when I had just got to the rehab hospital. So I was still in a wheelchair, and I still couldn't really talk. It was a whisper, if mouthing words at best. And I can remember overhearing my parents meeting with my team of doctors and therapists. And they
Mm-hmm.
were saying, okay, what do we need to do to make sure Nick makes a full recovery? I heard in the back of my head, you're going to run out of the hospital. So then I was able to communicate that to the rest of my team, and running out of the hospital became our common goal that we were meeting on every week, and to see how they were helping me get there. So that's the best way I can illustrate that.
Yeah, yeah.
E is energy. So maintaining your energy allows your body's natural ability to be able to heal itself. Medication has the potential to get in the way of that. Um, so, I mean, obviously within reason here, that first night in the hospital after my accident cost $250,000. So if it wasn't for modern medicine, I wouldn't be here today.
Hmm.
However, there's a use, a time, and a place for everything. So a month after my accident, when I came out of the ICU, was a time that we needed to allow the body to heal itself. And I can remember the story that can go with this is I was within a week of being cleared to walk on my own. So before I was cleared to walk on my own, if I got up in the middle of the night, I would always have to get someone's attention, either my dad or an uncle or my grandfather who was staying with me in a cot next to my bed, or a nurse to help me get to the bathroom because they didn't want me to fall again,
Hmm.
or or fall, period. And I still wasn't cleared to walk, so I got up in the middle of the night and I tried to get my grandfather's attention. He didn't hear me, so I had to get down. I lowered the bar in my bed and make it to the bathroom and got back, and nothing happened. However, the hospital found out the next day and they freaked out. And they're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Oh no, we can't have this, and liability, and
Oh, yeah.
here's here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna give him this many cc's of this medication that should calm him down before bed, so he can sleep throughout the night." And my mom heard this and she goes, "No, you're not. Just ask him not to do that." So they asked me not to do that, and then it didn't happen again. Everything was okay.
Yeah.
So P is persistence. So once you've taken your first step, keep getting up every day and taking your next step, no matter how small. And by continuing to do something every day towards your recovery, you are building an unstoppable momentum. So where we were, I think if you fast forward less than 60 days later, I realized my goal of running out of the hospital. And that was really just the start. I mean, I had to continue to go to outpatient therapy for another 6 months, along with being tutored all summer long in order to continue on to high school with the rest of my classmates.
Yes.
And looking back on it, it's a little surreal that only 18 months later, because I'm sure you can relate to this, when you're younger, time is compressed. So if you think like 6 months away, 12 months away, 18 months, that seems like a lifetime away. However, it's not that far. The older I get, I'm realizing that it's not that far. It's not a lot of time. So only 18 months later, after finishing rehab from my snowboarding accident and being in a coma, I got my start in real estate, and that was door knocking pre-foreclosure doors, or homeowners that have received the notice of default letter from the bank. And I would get a list and go around to these houses to set up meetings for our investor to meet with them the following week about potentially buying their house. So I had success doing that, continued that throughout the rest of high school. After getting out of high school, graduating high school, I got my real estate license, was helping buyers and sellers, and then my dad came to me in 2014, at the end of 2014. He was a real estate investor. He was starting to accumulate all these properties and buy them non-conventionally. So without getting big bank loans
Hmm.
or using any of his money for down payments, or for that matter, investor down payments. So he would buy them non-conventionally in just a few ways. I'm still involved in this family real estate business, and we still help associates all over the country do this. So I'll just give you like a 10,000 foot view, just some of the ways we buy.
Hmm.
Um, One of them is on a lease purchase, basically a delayed cash sale. we won't actually close on the home. Then a second option is if they don't have any debt on the property, we'll close on it and structure principal only payments to the seller. The third is we'll close on it and buy the home subject to someone's existing loan. So my dad was buying all these properties. He had started at the end a year before in 2013. He was buying all these properties. He was accumulating them, and he was like, "Oh shoot, I need help with putting them on the rent to own market." So not listing them as a realtor, but putting them on the rent to own market because there's only roughly 18% of the market who can walk into a bank and get a loan today. So this is that other, call it 80% of the market. They're not all good. However, there's a good portion in there that they make great money, and they have a down payment saved. They just can't, for whatever reason, walk into a bank and get a loan. So my dad came to me at the end of 2014, and he said, "Can you help me with advertising these, putting these on the rent-to-own market to try to find a buyer?" So I agreed to start doing that. I was like, well, I can do that right alongside being a realtor. And then over the course of 13 or 14 months, my income completely shifted. 12 or 13 months, excuse me. My income completely shifted where I was only making just a very small amount as a realtor. So in January of 2016, I let my real estate license go and joined him full time. So the marketing, all the homes turned into, oh shoot, now I got to hire someone to help all these buyers and work with all these buyers to get them into these houses that I was acquiring. And that's where I kind of came in, and I started helping. And then throughout the years, since for the last 10 years, I've been helping all of our rent-to-own buyers get into our homes, and then on the road to home ownership and be able to get their own loan and qualify for their own loan 18 or 24 months from now, or sometimes it takes a little longer.
Yeah.
That's turned into now the same systems, tools, and processes we're now sharing with all of our associates that we have all over the country to replicate the same success that we've had. So the reason I share that is that ever since I graduated from high school, there's always been this voice in the back of my head that's always been saying, similar to like when I was in the hospital, I heard you're going to run out. This has been saying, okay, great. That's great, Nick. But what you really need to be doing is telling your story from stage and helping trauma survivors or accident or life challenge survivors through their challenge and then thrive with the rest of their lives. So the voice has always been there, James. And through our work with Smart Real Estate Coach, that's our company that I still work with my dad in, and with our associates all over the country, we've had the opportunity to hold events once or twice a year. So I've always had the opportunity to share my story at our events once or twice a year. So I thought, oh, okay, I'm listening to that voice in the back of my head. I'm following that guidance. Well, I mean, maybe a little bit. Whenever I get up, I was talking for maybe 10 or 15 minutes at our event, and I always thought that was a big deal. Then in September of 2019, someone approached me after hearing me share my story, and I think at that point it was the longest that I'd ever spoke before. It was maybe 15 or 20 minutes. And she said, she complimented me on my talk and then gave me her card and said, "I'm not trying to steal you from your dad and your family business.
Yeah.
However, if you're ever looking to fine tune your message and bring it to another level so that you're able to have maximum impact and help the most amount of people, I can introduce you to a few coaches and mentors that have helped me get started along the way." So I wasn't ready yet. because I was actually going through a voice challenge, and I don't I don't think we have time to really go into depth on this, but
Yeah, yeah.
maybe if you have me back in the future, we can talk about it.
Well, I
But
think it's all this, especially with the rent to own, rent to buy houses, helping people, that would have a difficult time. I mean, that's beautiful. Again, I'm all for paying it forward and helping other people from there. And then, of course, now here this woman is trying to help you out, you know, to be able to move forward. That way, later on, you're going to help other people again out. And so, yeah, hearing that story, I think, is beautiful. Now, let me ask this question here. Way back in, you're 14 years old. You sound like a kid, like I was growing up, that I thought I was invincible. Nothing can stop me. I was going to do what I want to. Here you are, on your, what you call, what's the,
snowboard,
uh,
snowboard, yeah, snowboard.
yeah, the snowboard, the thing you riding up, and you're looking at
Oh,
the hill.
killer,
Yeah,
killer.
and you're going,
I was
yeah,
like,
that's the hill I want. You know, not worrying about the test from it, because you're going, I can master this. I can. So you sound like someone like me
yeah,
that kind of took a little challenges more than we needed to.
absolutely.
So,
That's 100% accurate. Yep.
and even though they can come back and bite you in the butt, but hearing also in the long run with that attitude has made you be able to where you're at today too. So,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah,
know, having that
that feeling.
invincibility.
Yeah, that feeling of like when I was, and I just recently started to connect it. When I was on the chairlift, like that's what I'm doing. That feeling of I didn't have to ask anyone, I didn't have to second guess myself. I knew that's what I was doing. Then when it came to working with Trisha, so it's the same thing. Um, I didn't have to ask anyone. I knew that's what I was doing. So I wasn't ready yet. I hung on to her card though, um, that she gave me in September of 2019, because, like I said, I was still going through like a voice challenge. That's how it sounded like. It
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
feel like
yeah,
that, but that's how it sounded like. So, I had to still work that out and get that out of my system. And like I said, I don't have time to go into it today, but maybe if you have me back in another 6 or 12 months, we can talk about
yeah,
that.
yeah,
But I hung on to her card. And then in May of 2021, I finally reached out to her. I said, okay, I'm ready. She introduced me to her mentor, who became my mentor, my coach and mentor. And ever since, James, ever since that first call with her, there's been no voice in the back of my head. So I had a conversation with her. I told her what I was looking to do, and I said, do you think that's possible? She said, absolutely. I said, okay, what do you think I should do? She said, the speaker salon, which is, and I was like, what's that? She said, well, that's 25,000, and that's you commute to New York City for 6 weeks in a row every Wednesday. For 5 weeks, you get to work on the Triad, on the stage at the Triad Theater with up to 10 to 15 other speakers, to craft getting my live direction feedback, craft a 10 to 15 minute talk. And then on the 6th week, the final week of the program, you get to perform for TEDx organizers, um, podcast hosts, other event planners and organizers, people that are looking for speakers to book for their events. So I said yes to that. Then this all connects too. Then during the speaker salon, about halfway through, she Trisha pitched the idea of what it would look like to work with her one on one.
hmm
Uh, so she said that's 75,000, and she specializes in working with speakers, help them build out their speaker platform. Um, James, I didn't even know what that was.
yeah,
Now I know what it is because it's what I'm doing. It's like what I'm doing with you today is, prior to Trisha, the most I would do is 10 or 15 minutes on stage, maybe 15 or 20, but that was the most. Now I do keynotes, 50 and 60 minute
Yeah.
plus keynotes for brain injury associations all over the country, and also other organizations that support individuals that are going through trauma. And if you would have told me that this is what I'd be doing back in 2019 or 2018, I would have told you, you'd be nuts.
You
But
be
now,
outside your mind.
yeah, exactly. Like, I would have never thought that would be possible, but now with her guidance and training and everything, it is. And before her, like she helped me launch Common Goal. The building the speaker platform is building out those 50 and 60-minute talks, 60-minute plus talks that I wrote with her. So now I know what that is. And she pulled the step system out of me. So the step system was just all up here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Never, it was just how I internally dealt with things and how I was raised to deal with things. So now she helped pull it out of me. And I think on our first call, she asked me, all right, so you have a great story that you got in your snowboarding accident, then you ran out of the hospital. How'd you do it? And I said, I don't know. I kept getting up every day and doing the best I could. She goes, no, not good enough. So she kept asking me to a point where I was like, I don't know. Stop asking me that question.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that she did go through that with me, that we went through that together, because out of that birth the step system, which now that's like 80 or 90% of what I do
Yeah.
right now in my work with my keynotes and my work with people one on one. So um, still looking back on it, I do it 100 times over.
I hear you, except for the snowboarding. I mean, sad thing is, I mentioned this with another girl that I had on. She had been through some sexual assault, and she attempted suicide, and had 2 strokes, and she's not the only one that's told me this since I've been podcasting. I'm in my 5th year doing this, and other people have told me that. And I've said the same thing. No, I'm not happy about having a spinal cord injury. No, I'm not happy about sexual assault. No, I'm not happy about, but it has made me who I am today. You know, no, I wouldn't encourage snowboarding accident. Okay. May not want to go through it, but it has helped you get where you're at today. It's made you the man and the speaker, the informer, the helper, the pay it forward person that you are today.
100%. I don't want to ruin what you just said because it was so perfect. Yes.
Hey, y'all heard that? It's time to shut the show down. It was perfect. No. Go ahead. All right. No. You question anything? I'm probably totally wrong about what I say. Just my opinion. So you go. You do. Now let me ask this question here. While you're in rehab and of course coming out of your coma, how long were you able before you could communicate? I guess talking.
That's a good question. I mean, I think it was at first, it was even blinking.
Yeah.
It was looking at things and blinking. That's how I would communicate. And
Yeah. Give me the 1 for yes and 2 for no.
yeah, exactly. I had to learn everything again. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like everything was taken away from me, and then I was basically a 14-year-old baby. So I had to learn.
Yep. I said I was a 19-year-old baby. I said the only thing that I had advantage over is they could scream, throw their arms and legs. And at that time, I couldn't move my arms. And I go, but the only advantage I got is I can communicate with her screaming and no one knows.
Mm.
So.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just at first it was blinking, then it was mouthing words, then it was a whisper, and then after that I slowly started to get my voice back. Um, and I was able to get my voice back 100%, and I actually like I was a realtor. I was helping buyers and sellers, that kind of thing, and I had I told you I didn't want to go into the voice issue, but I have to. I feel like so. I was trying to like psych myself up in the morning before I get on the phone to prospect for new business. So I read somewhere that you have to like chant your scripts like yell your scripts to get in the mode. Well, that's not the answer. It wasn't yell. It was you have to read through them a few times to kind of get
Hmm.
your energy up. But I interpreted that as, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to scream my scripts. So not only will this get my energy up, but it will really reinforce the scripts. So
There
I
you
know
go.
that in my bones. And I mean, that I guess worked for 6 full months of doing that. But after 6 full months of doing that, my voice just said, no, no more.
This ain't happening, Bubba.
Yeah, I can't do that anymore. So that's how I developed it in 2012, and I started looking for an answer everywhere, and no one could really give me a straight answer. Finally, I wound up in a voice specialist office in Boston in August of 2013, and that's where this guy, Dr. Song is his name.
Hmm.
He walked in the room, heard me speak, and right away nonchalantly goes, "Oh, that? Yeah, we deal with that all the time. We'll get that fixed in no time.
That's
Uh,
right.
Go see the front desk and schedule a Botox injection in a couple weeks." So I was just like, my mouth was on the floor. I was like, I'm sold, hook, line, and sinker. So
There you go.
I got scheduled, and I had to get Botox injections into my vocal folds for 7 years. And combining that with the previous year I was dealing with this voice issue, I really had to get Botox injections and voice therapy and looking for answers for 8 full years. Um, and after I got through that, James, I was like, all right, I have something here. Because I mean, when I recovered from my snowboarding accident, the thing was, it was just something I still don't think it's a big deal. Well, now the more and more I share it, I'm getting feedback that, yeah, that is kind of a big deal.
I would say it's a big deal. It's just not so big of a deal since you have come so far, from it and have
Yeah,
really
exactly.
improved. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was something that I had to deal with when I was growing up. So I was only 14 years old when I got into my accident, so it was just like a blip. Then when I had to deal with my voice issue, that was after school, like after I got out of school and I was working and everything. So I think I'm more proud of that, overcoming that, than I am my snowboarding accident. I might have recency bias. However, yeah, like I said, I'm more proud of that, I think. And
Yeah.
after I got through that, I was like, all right, I need to share, I need to share this with the world. I need to help people, um, like I have.
Amen, brother. I'm glad you're sharing it. I'm glad you're giving people perspective and giving them a chance to go, man, if he can get through that, I can get through my ingrown toenail, you know, for whatever happening, they can use your encouragement to be able to move on. So I appreciate you're out there.
Awesome. No, I'm
All
happy to
right.
do it. It's my calling. I need
That's
to
right. Your
for this.
purpose in life right now. So, all right. Nick, I'm glad you came on in and we're really glad we got to meet. Um, Go ahead and give people your websites or any social media how to get a hold of you, and then
Sure.
so they can get your step program.
Yeah, so the real estate aspect, I know we only like glossed over it, but the real estate aspect, if anyone heard this and they're like, "Oh, I want to learn more about that," the real like how we buy and sell and everything creatively, you can go to smartrealestatecoach.com/masters class, and there you can get registered for a free master's class. It's going to teach you all about how we buy and sell homes on terms, is what we like to call it, without using any of our money or credit.
Hmm.
Then, really, we were only able to cover, believe it or not, a 10,000 foot view of the step system. To download the entire step system for free, you can go to nickprefontaine.com/step. And that's going to teach you all about support, trust, energy, and persistence.
All right. Good job. Yeah, I want to read the STEP program to a little bit, get to know more about it. So, all right, Mr. Nick, man, you're amazing. I appreciate, again, I'm like I tell other people, I'm sorry you went through, but I'm glad I get to meet the new and improved, better you. So,
This has been a blast. Thank you for having me.
all right. Later on, you can say it's a blast from the past. So, all right, man. Well, I appreciate you being here. Everybody else, let's move on and everybody have a great day. Share it to someone that you know they can use a little help here. Nick can do the best he can to help with you. So, I'm Dr. James Purdue, the professor of perseverance. Do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your paralysis.